Hello, Internet. It's me again, Linzy19. I wanted to come in and talk a little bit today about about Linzy19. Um, this is my handle for my internet projects, I guess you could say. Um, so it started out with camming. I got into being a cam girl about 3 months ago on September 11th. Yeah. So, um, but before I go into that, camming is something that I always thought was very interesting. I used to watch years ago on Chatterbait. There was a couple of particular models that I really enjoyed. Um, what made them different was kind of just how fun they were. They had interesting personalities, and they were very like flamboyant. I guess for lack of a better word, they were like almost like living cartoons. A couple of them that I can think of is like even if they weren't doing something sexy, I was there to watch and see what they were doing because they were very interesting people. And I was like, and I think there was a part of me that was very like envious of the fact that they got to go and do what they were doing. And they had, all these people watching them. They were making money on top of it. They were showing their bodies. They were doing sex acts. And there's something very intimate and private in some ways about some of these performances, like a very, not just with the model and the audience, but like the audience amongst themselves too. And I used to enjoy watching them. It wasn't something I did too often. I would kind of go in phases. But I think, and this is before I was, my egg had hatched and I realized I was trans. A part of me was very envious of that because I always thought, like, as a dude, I would never be able to do anything like that. Like, not that dudes can't do that, but like me, I wasn't like an attractive dude. But you know, sex sells, and mostly women are the ones who are making the big bucks doing that stuff. Most of the men would have like female partners, from what I've seen, some of the more popular men. Um, but I always thought it was really cool. Not long before I started hormone therapy, I decided that I would make a video, and I was going to try to because I had thought about maybe trying to break into, like, I guess you could say sex work, even though I didn't even really know the term, or consider the term back then. But I wanted to make a video, and I did. I made a video, and this is when I was still wearing like breast forms and stuff. And I remember making that video and then being like incredibly sad that I wouldn't like be able to take off my shirt or anything like that. Um, but I made it, and I was getting approved on a website to upload it, and I had to wait a few days, and so I kind of just slept on it and didn't put it out. And then when I went back and looked at it again, my upper lip, because this is before I had laser sessions too, my upper lip was so dark, and of course I had just shaved before I had done the video, but when it came to my facial hair, there's not much I could do about it. But yeah, I did the video. I was all gung ho, and then I watched it and was like, as hot as it was, um, I knew I couldn't put it out, and I was advised at one point on against putting out content that was me very early transition, because then once I did pick up speed and get into a better place, those images and videos of me would be around forever. And it was like this thing of like, do you really want your old, male body essentially thrown in your face by somebody perhaps or something? Now I had posted lots of pictures of me pre hormones and everything, but that video I just couldn't do. I put it away. I don't even know if I still have it on my computer or anywhere. It may be somewhere. I don't think so. I hope not. Like, it was a really good video. It was hot. Maybe not even something I could accomplish now, because I was still on testosterone. So I don't know if I could even hit those same notes that I hit. But yeah. So I had an interest in sharing my body and all that, pre-transition and everything, but I never really delved too deep into it. Um, it was about 4 months ago is when I really got comfortable with my body, and I was seeing myself in mirrors a lot, and I was mostly always happy with what I saw. My breasts had gotten to a pretty decent size. I I generally liked the way I looked. So I went ahead and and I had gotten approved on Chatterbait a long time ago, actually, and I just never did anything with it. It was the sort of thing where I was like, yeah, let's do this. And then I signed up and got approved and then just never touched it. So months later, when I decided I would give it a shot, like I was all ready to go. I didn't have to wait or do anything. I just put my, I use my phone as a camera. So I put my phone up there and hit broadcast, and it was just like, well, let's see what happens. Chances are I'll get like 2 or 3 people coming through and maybe talking to me for a minute. And probably not. It'll probably be like because sometimes I would go to the rooms that only had like 1 or 2 people in them and just see and just and just watch, because you can't help but feel bad for people who don't like really have any attention in their rooms. So sometimes I would just go look at the low viewer rooms and just check it out. I assumed I would be one of those low viewer rooms. But I went ahead and hit broadcast, just in the chair, just like I am now, basically. And pretty quickly, before I knew it, I had 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, 25 people. And I was just like talking and just vibing and listening to music. And before I knew it, like I was already making tips. Like people were tipping me and wanting to see like my breasts and my so and one thing about that, I did not see this coming. I had no idea how popular my ass was going to be. Apparently I have a big old bubble butt, and people go crazy over that shit. Like, I used to do what I call thumbnail cheating, where I would basically bend over and put my ass up in the camera, when my room was slow, just to get people to show up, because they would see the thumbnail and they would see big old booty and they'd have to come look. They just had to. So I would do that and then gather up a bunch of people and then turn around and be like, ha, got you. Like, you're here for my dumb show, not my ass. And then like a bunch would leave. But I would still garner attention that way. But yeah, they loved it. They loved my body. I had no earthly idea that that many people would find me attractive. I could not believe it at that time. Um, my struggle with dysphoria was pretty profound for most of my transition. Only recently has it really gotten a lot better, and partly due to camming. I used to have a lot of negative self-talk. I used to really be hard on myself, and they picked up on that quick. And sometimes I would have a big tipper in there, like basically rolling the performance for everybody. And I would say like a disparaging comment about my body or myself or my tummy or something. And one guy in particular was like, hey, can you like cool it out on that? Cause I don't like that. And I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't even think it might like affect the performance. I would just talk down on myself. I was in such a habit. I used to call myself T-slur. I used to just be very hard on myself. And I think part of the reason is I felt if I said the things like about my tummy, about my, undefined butt, like I wish it just was like tighter. I feel like if I said those things, or make a joke about like, oh, I'm a man and all that stuff. If I made the jokes, it wouldn't hurt if anybody else made them, because I made it first and I was open about it. So that was part of my reasoning, but also it was just like, it was almost like a way of apologizing to everybody. Be like, look, I know I could be hotter. Like, I wish I was hotter too. But Yeah, I did not realize just how much I did it, and just how much it sucked until like I had gotten like called out on enough, and then it was pretty quick when I started picking up some regulars in my rooms who would come to almost all my performances, and they would talk to me and everything, and some of them would tip me pretty good on the regular. Some would just talk to me and not tip me, and that kind of sucks. But at the same time, like, some of them are really chill people, and it's cool to have somebody to like talk to, especially when it's slow, and just vibe with. These are generally people I would get along with well. Um, and they would kind of check me on it too. Like, I would make an offhand comment during a performance about something about my parents, and they would be like, hey, don't say that. Like, you're beautiful. Like, trust me. And yeah, and so it kind of bred out that behavior in me of feeling like I needed to constantly put myself down. And that was good. And 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 I carried that in my everyday life. Like, I'm not nearly as hard on myself as I used to be. I used to be pretty hard on myself. But yeah, I started out being Linzy19. My goal with the performance, I used to say it was like one part personal diary, one part comedy show, one part karaoke, one part, oh God, I can't even remember all the other ones. And part sexo. I'm not going to go into everything. But anyway, I wanted to have a big variety of what I would do. I wanted to be able to be funny and then be smart and then be sexy all in like the blink of an eye. And that's still one of my main goals, is to be able to flip this switch from like making a funny joke to making an insightful comment to sexily like groping my breasts. Like, that's generally my approach, is that I like to hit all those notes and do them seamlessly to where they flow into each other. Now, sometimes the comedy can kind of break the mood a little bit. I'm kind of known for not being able to shut the fuck up sometimes when I'm doing a performance, and not that I just talk incessantly, although sometimes I do. But mostly like I just feel weird like being so silent, and especially when you got that many people looking at you and everything. But sometimes, like, if I'm really doing a performance, I have to kind of reel it in and not talk so much. I used to get out like a ball gag and ball gag myself sometimes, because I was like, okay, guys, this is the only way I'm going to shut the fuck up tonight long enough to do this. So, um, yeah, but my dog's having a dream. Um, yeah, so that was my approach. It still is my approach, but that's one of the things that's really interesting to me, is that in this camera environment, like, there's no stipulations. There's nobody telling you like what you have to do and what you need to be. You can just be anything. Um, the version of myself that I perform with is very much me, but it's sort of a caricature of myself. It's sort of an exaggerated version of myself. And I notice that, like, if I record a video or something, that I kind of click it on suddenly, and I play myself up a little bit, and the way I talk is a little bit different. The way I move, the way I angle my face. Like, one thing that was very jarring is I made the mistake of watching the previous episode of this podcast, the video, and I watched it for an hour, the whole hour basically. Um, it was kind of jarring because I am not used to seeing myself in that mode. I'm used to seeing myself in performance mode, where I've got the screen up here. I can see what I'm doing, what I look like. I can angle my body, my face to really bring out my best and minimize the things I'm insecure about. The lighting's usually good, and everything. So when I watched that podcast, I was like, granted, I was talking about some things that I was still slightly upset about. But like, it was kind of jarring. I was just like, God, I look old and I look haggard, and like, I'm not even like trying to be pretty or anything. And so I got like super insecure. And then the next that night when I went on and did a performance, I was just like, ooh, I feel so dysphoric about myself right now. Just because I'm not used to seeing myself do videos like that. It was always been a thing where I'm trying to look and act my best, um, for the audience, and for the money. But yeah, so we do a lot of silly bullshit on my public shows, like especially when it's slow. Yeah, but um, like one of my favorite things is so I've got a degree in philosophy, and that probably explains why I'm doing the things I'm doing instead of teaching or something or doing something with that degree. But one of the things I enjoy to do the most is I like to read philosophy, and I've still got all my textbooks and some other books that I picked up over the years. But I like to bust them out, and we'll read them topless or not, and I love it. I love reading this material and talking about it as I go and everything. And like you get some people who get really interested in that stuff, and like to be able to essentially, I found a way to teach philosophy through a sex show, oddly enough. But it really works for me. It's fun. I enjoy it, and it forces me to engage with that material again, which I haven't done in years. So if I'm reading Phenomenology of Spirit or something, I'm forced to engage with that material again, and thus learn from it again, because that's the kind of that one in particular is kind of a nightmare to read. And the more you read it, every time you read it, the more you get out of it, especially when you're trying to convey that information to a lay audience. Most of the people in my room aren't versed in philosophy, and so I'll read it and then be like, so really, this is what he's saying by sublation. Remember when he said this? Like, so he's still talking about that, but really, this is what it means. And, or, try and like, I don't try to present like I have the answers or anything. That's not good teaching. Um, but yeah, so, and that's one of the things that I really like to do. And what appeals to me about camming is that freedom to do whatever I want. Um, if I don't, sometimes I go in and paint my nails. I don't give a shit. Like, sometimes I'm like really wanting to make some money, and sometimes I'm like, I don't care if anybody tips me anything. I'm just gonna go on here and have fun. Um, but another thing about it too is that before I started camming, I was extremely lonely. I had gotten to this point in my transition where I finally felt comfortable enough to like be seen and everything and like engage with strangers and stuff. But like, I didn't really have any ways to do that. I actually started going to bars. Yeah, I, I actually drug myself into a bar for the first time in a long time by myself, and was just walked in, and was like, hello, one beer, please. And it was dead. It was a dead night. So the bartender was super sweet, and she sat down and talked to me for a little bit and was like, so what brings you out? And I was like, well, I felt like this is something I wasn't able to do for a long time. So I wanted to show myself that I could do it. That because I just felt like, well, I'm trans, like I can't just go to a bar, like I'll get beat up or something bad will happen if I do this. And then eventually I was like, no, fuck that, I can go do that shit. I'll just be careful, don't get drunk, just watch yourself. And so I started doing that a little bit, and that became kind of an outlet for my social needs, because I had lost friends transitioning. I had some friends who you know, were supportive, and then as it went on, they weren't so supportive. Um, and yeah, so I didn't have a whole lot of friends before that. It's one of those things. The older you get, the tighter your little circle gets, and you fall out of touch with more and more people. And I'd gotten off Facebook years ago, and so I didn't have contact with a lot of people that I grew up with and everything. So which was good in some ways, because I felt like if I'd still been on Facebook, I might have been even more averse to transitioning, because I would have felt like I had all those eyes on me and all that history of people who grew up with me and who knew me. Um, but yeah, so that was something I was doing to kind of like feel like because I feel like I needed to be seen, I needed to be real. And to be real, I needed to engage with people. But not just that, like I said, I had nobody to fucking talk to. Like I would go to work and then I would come home and like play Apex Legends on my PlayStation. And that would be basically it. And I would go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, play video games. Like it was just this vicious cycle and I just didn't know how to break out of it. And I just felt so fucking lonely and shit. So I started going to the bars. And not like every night or anything. I would go a couple nights a week. And that was cool. You know, I had some cool experiences. You know, I had a couple guys like buy me beers and chat me up and stuff and, you know, try to get my number a couple of times. I say try, but yeah, I gave it to him. Oh, I gave him my snap and was like, oh, I hope you know I'm trans, right? You know, that kind of thing. They didn't always. And then some were like, oh, so you're a guy? And I'm like, oh, fucking kill me. Yeah, that happened. And that was one thing too. I was beginning to pass more. And that was something that, and I realized at one point that I passed more to the world than I passed to myself. Um, I was like, I would just be like, well, my voice, like this, you know, like, oh, what do you mean you actually thought I was a cis woman? Like, are you fucking crazy? Um, but it just kept happening. It kept happening to the point where I was like, oh shit, I'm getting to pass here and there. Like, and now I need to let myself pass because I'm outing myself. Because I feel like I need to draw attention to it or something because I don't know. But it was very interesting going to bars in this way. When I started camming, that was a very good fix of my social needs. I was being seen. I was talking to people. I was engaging with people and stuff, and you know, talking about my life, talking about myself, things I liked, you know, things I didn't like, talking about anything and everything. You know, most of the time when you're camming, you just spend time talking. And that's one reason I enjoy the public performances and the big public stuff that I would do on Chatterbait and Strip Chat and stuff is really engaging with larger audiences and talking to multiple people was really my style. I found myself telling a lot of stories about being trans, about being kinky, and about being camgirl eventually when I started getting enough experience that I stopped one night and was like, I should just write this shit down. So I opened a notepad and I just started writing down some of these stories and some of these jokes that I was telling because some of them are fucking funny. And like a lot of them are about, you know, being trans and being a trans camgirl. And that's not a thing that a lot of people have experience with. But the jokes I tell and the way I tell them, I think they're very relatable to most people. And so it's kind of an interesting window into this world that I live in. And yeah, I started writing a comedy set. I've wanted to do stand-up comedy since I was like a kid. Like I grew up watching, I used to record stand-up comedy on my VHS tapes when it would come on Comedy Central. And I would just watch and rewatch these stand-up bits all the time. You know, I'd play StarCraft or whatever until 4 and 5 in the morning and just let that shit play over and over in the background. I used to love stand-up comedy, and I still do. But yeah, I started writing some bits and everything, and before I knew it, like I have a decent amount of material. Like, and what's interesting about doing that too is I was able to workshop it while I was camming. Like I could, if it was slow and I had enough people, some friends in the room, I would be like, okay, so I'm going to tell 4 jokes and I've got them set to transition into one another so that they're fairly seamless. Let's time it. Let's see how long it takes me. Let's see how it lands. And then I would run through my tiny little mini set and shit, 6-7 minutes. You know, if you go to do an amateur night somewhere, you may only get 6 or 7 minutes, you know, maybe. And so I eventually had a stand-up set. Like it's to me it's still like amazing. And like, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, I'm so funny, I'm such a great writer, but like some of that shit is funny. And it's not just the material. Like, I think I have a decent way of with timing and with presenting my jokes a certain way, and with the way I kind of like subvert expectations by saying things in a certain way, or saying something very smart followed by something very bimbo-y and dumb and slutty, generally. And I think that lands, and I think it hits hard. So that's one project that I'm working on now that I've able to do as a cam girl, is work on a stand-up set. And yeah, one day I want to go to like an amateur night in a bigger city and see if I can do anything, see if I can get some laughs and shit, get comfortable telling these jokes. And it's not like I haven't been telling them already and getting experience telling them and workshopping them and changing like little bits and dropping this and adding that. It's been very interesting getting to play with that in front of an audience. Um, yeah. So yeah, read philosophy, do my dumb little stand-up bits, the sex shows. So I love sex. I am very, very sex positive. I am not ashamed of what I do. I have no guilt about what I do. I love what I do. Um, Getting to do what I do for that many people, for, up 100 people sometimes, is a treat, and it's a privilege, and it's something that I absolutely love. Now, I don't do those public shows as much as I used to. I used to do them a lot more, like 3-4 hour, shows where we're working towards this and this, and usually I'm making money as I go. I used to get tips more like applause, like as opposed to like tipping for an act or to show a part of my body. It was mostly like I would do performances and people would tip as I went, just because they were really enjoying themselves. Now, I was probably, if I made $50 a night, I was super happy. Um, there's some nights I make $100, but if I go and do privates, like only privates on like StreamMate or something like that, I can make that money a lot quicker by doing a lot less. And discovering that kind of put me through one little phase about a month ago where that's really all I was interested in doing for a little bit, was just doing those private shows. They're a lot more like work. You get in with the clients. They usually want to share their camera, so it's a very more like one-on-one thing. Um, it's a lot more like work. I don't enjoy a lot of privates. Sometimes the people are really pleasant, and that's nice. I've met some really, really nice men doing privates and everything who are very sweet. I've met some aggressive, unpleasant men as well. Um, but the money is so good. Like, the first private I ever did, my room was slow. And I used to say no privates because I was like, no, it'll kill my room. Like, what do you mean? I got like 40 people in here. I don't want to like kick them all out to go do a goddamn private. But it was slow one night, and somebody asked me if I would do a private with them. And I was like, well, it's pretty slow, so whatever. And I went and set my rate. Um, he took me to a private, and I performed for him for 55 minutes, and it was not intensive. Like, I think mostly all I did was grow up my breasts and masturbate my penis for him. And he was like, he was edging for most of the time, but he was sharing his camera and he was very nice and everything. And, you know, but 55 minutes, I made $250. Like, that's what I took home out of that. And it blew my mind. I had no earthly idea that anybody would ever pay that much money to see my body. Like, it was such an alien concept to me. I had no idea how much money I could make doing that, and that anybody would ever pay that rate for me, like by the minute. But he did, and it really opened my eyes up to the potential I could make if I kind of focused more on privates, and building that relationship with clients, about learning what they like, what they're into, their schedules, and working with them to set these things up. And so I focused on that for a while, but I'm kind of leaning back to doing some of that more public stuff now, just because it's like I really enjoy it. It sucks that you don't make as much money and you're typically doing a lot more sex acts, but I love it. So, um, being a camp girl changed a lot about my life. Suddenly, I had disposable income. Like I had lived on such a tight budget for so long that it was hard to get money outside my budget to do things I enjoyed, to buy things that I wanted. And transitioning is expensive already. So we're talking like, medications, laser treatments, stuff that I was already having to pull from my budget and make sure that I still could meet my bills and still be able to do things like get my laser treatment. Um, this changed so much. I was suddenly pulling in almost an entire other paycheck. Like I would get, about $480 a week from my regular job is what I would take home. I was pulling about $400 a week just for doing some nights, not even every single night, but that's how much I was making. And that's still when I was just streaming on one campsite. Now I usually stream to 3 campsites at the same time. Um, but yeah, I was pulling almost another check out of that for doing comparatively little work compared to my like actual job. Like I'll never forget after I did that private and made the $250, I went to my regular job and I was spoiled rotten and I was just like, um, the first fucking manager who says something shitty to me or treats me bad, I'll walk the fuck out of here because I can go make way more money showing my body and enjoying myself and making my own schedule than to be pulled in here and get paid a paltry fucking $14 an hour. Like, you kidding me? I can make $14 for showing my cock to somebody. Like, miss me with that bullshit. So I became kind of a little bit of a brat at work, and not really. I actually, I more had an attitude of like, I wish you would like tell me something, but I'm generally treated pretty good at work, and people like me, so um, I'm not the kind of person who really gets shit on at work very much, so it's fine. I hung in there, but there was a few days where I was like, I should just quit and just spend those same amount of hours camming, and I bet you I could make way, way more money and be a lot happier. But I wanted the stability of a regular job, and I wanted the health insurance, so I went ahead and I've stayed. Um, so I mostly cam in the late afternoons and early evenings. And I don't do it as much as I used to. In some ways, I tell myself I need to take more breaks and I need to be just a little bit easier and everything on myself. But yeah, having that money changed so much about like me being able to like buy clothes, and not always just clothes from thrift stores now. Like I could actually afford clothes for the first time in my transition, and yeah, and that was crazy to me. I was able to pay down some like credit card bills, and yeah, it was the money was amazing, and it's the kind of thing now, and it's so nice like being able to go grab a goddamn like sandwich from a fast food place or something and not worry about what's that going to do to my budget. Am I going to put myself out if I do this? Like I can go get something and not even think about it. Not that I do it like too often, but it is extremely nice. Or being able to pick up the bill, or like going out with somebody and just be like, oh, I got it. It's a very liberating feeling to not be so confined to my budget for once. um yeah, so it is overall, camming has been an extremely positive thing for me. There have been a couple of hiccups here and there. And one of these things, I knew it was going to happen eventually. I just knew. I just did not think it was going to happen so soon. I was recognized by somebody from my cam show in real life. And they interacted with me, and I didn't think anything of it. And then that night when I was doing my performance, they came through and was like, you really made my day today. And I was like, how could I have made your day? You just came in my room like 5 seconds ago. And he was like, oh, well, we interacted here. Like, do you remember me? Like, I was wearing this. And like I was terrified. Like, my heart was like beating, and I was just trying to play it as cool as I could because I have 30, 40 people in my room. And like, so I didn't, and I kind of just played it off. I was just like, played it off like it was a joke. I took him to a private message pretty quick to get him out of the public chat to talk to him. But I didn't want to give the impression that I was nervous to the room because, like I said, I just didn't know how to handle it. He said some things in that private message that made me incredibly uncomfortable, um, and that was difficult. Um, yeah, so I'm not going to go into details on that, but I just wish he had been cooler about it. I wish it would have been a thing of like, oh my God, like I love your show, like I love you, like it was really interesting getting to like see you, like small fucking world, like that would have been perfect. That would have been absolutely fine. But he said some sexual things that made me uncomfortable, and that was really unfortunate. And I didn't really know how to handle it at the time. But yeah, and I told myself too. I was like, because I remember I walking through like a store one day, and then like, and I was getting a lot of looks from men, and I was just thinking like, I wonder how many of these men have seen me, like seen my tits, seen my dick, seen me with a dildo in my ass. I wonder how many of them have seen me, and and I know for certain one has, and yeah, and so I thought about it a lot, and it was like this thing of like, well, everybody who comes to my room has a face, has a life, has a story. He's no different. He's just another face, another life, another story. Um, but having the face, like, and like being that close to him physically, was different, and it hit me different. That was one thing that, like, I guess some girls would just be like, pull the plug, stop everything. Um, that's not me. I'm very sex positive and everything like that. I have nothing to be ashamed about. It's one of those things. If you want to try to shame me for my performance, I'll shame you for being an audience in my performance. Like, you're here watching me. But I know I had seen him in my room before, so he had seen me perform, saw me in public, engaged with me. Um, in a way, like he didn't say anything to me about being a performer or anything like that. Like I had no idea. Like it was just an interaction. Then he went away, and then he told me later that night. So in some ways, it was easier for me knowing that he had seen me first and then saw me in public and didn't like make it weird in public. Even though he did make it weird back in the room. Um, yeah, so that was very difficult for me to deal with. I pretty much have kind of moved past it and put it behind me and everything. It's not that big a deal. Like I don't think I ever felt unsafe or like in danger or anything with him knowing like where I live and everything. Um, but I just wish it hadn't happened. But it was one of those things too where I don't know how many times it has happened, and they just didn't say anything to me. Um, for all I know, he's not the first, and he probably will not be the last. Like it is a strange thing, and I tell myself, porn stars, celebrities, they get recognized all the time. They get seen in public, and nobody, it doesn't mean you're going to be murdered if somebody just sees you. Um, like I mean, streamers and all that, like big like Twitch streamers, like they have huge audiences and they get recognized, and YouTubers and stuff like that. Like, but I guess it was also like that first like taste of like I guess like celebritydom or something. Like, I mean, definitely not calling myself a celebrity, but I was recognized from the content I create, which was something I like I said, knew would happen eventually. I just never thought it would happen that quick. Um, but yeah, so that happened. And one thing about that is, it did not deter me from wanting more exposure and to move forward in what I want, from Linzy19. Like I said, for a while it was just on Chatterbait, and then I started doing Streammate and Chatterbait, and just kind of waiting for privates to come through on Streammate, and then eventually I opened it up to Strip Chat as well, and do all that. And of course, I have OnlyFans as well. But yeah, so I'm my name is getting a lot more out there. I recently started putting stuff on Xhamster, a couple of my older videos, some of my photos and everything, and they garnered a lot of attention. For me, I feel like, I mean, that my chastity lecture video that I have, it's like a 51-minute lecture on chastity, which I ended up talking about chastity so much whenever I would bring my chastity cage out that people always had so many questions, and they were so curious and interested in it. And then I would just talk about it, and they loved it, and they found it so interesting. So I just decided to just make a lecture, show off my toys, show off, talk about the things you can do in chastity, what good chastity means to me, some of the mental stuff involved. I did a 51-minute lecture on that, and I put that up on Xhamster the other day. And yeah, I mean, it had like it's got like 4,000 views, over 4,000 views right now in just a couple of days. So, and a lot of people were really like finding me from that as well. Um, I toy with long-term goals about like, I would like to do like, I mean, I don't know if studio porn is the right word, but I would like to do like more along the lines of like actual porn one day. Maybe, probably pretty niche stuff like bondage stuff and everything. Like I was, say I want to get on kink.com. And I was so close to applying the other day. Like a couple of months ago, I was just like, had the application halfway filled out, and then I was like, I just stopped. I was like, I just can't, because if they look at it now, they go look at my content, they decide I'm not like experienced or ready enough, I may not get another look. So I was like, just wait, get your name out there a little bit more, maybe work out, maybe go to the gym and work out on your body a little bit. Because I don't do shit to my body. I just try to watch what I eat as best I can. Um, but yeah, so I would like, yeah, I joke. Well, I joke. But yeah, I want to go to kink.com and get chained to a wall and have my ass beat for 3 hours, because that sounds like a very good time to me. Um, so I want to move into a direction of doing more and collaborating with other performers and doing things with them, expanding my own horizons, getting better equipment. Like my computer that I do stuff on is old as sin, and I am shocked it can do it. It can do, and that's part of the reason I use my phone as a camera, is that if I did get a webcam, I don't think it could handle. I don't think my computer could handle a webcam. The video card is just not there. I don't think it could. So I'm not going to drop the money on an actual webcam until I know for sure that, until I get a better computer, basically. And that could be on my list. I've kind of spent money on a bunch of dumb shit. First thing I probably should have done is got a better mic and a better computer. And a webcam, but we'll get there. Like I said, this all kind of took me by storm, and um, I just kind of got caught up enjoying myself, and now I'm like, oh shit, what should I do as far as like setting up an LLC, or like, figuring out my tax situation, because I'm probably gonna get my tax return completely swallowed up, and then probably owe some more money come tax season. Um, so yeah, I'm probably going to get fucked pretty hard, which will be a good performance in and of itself. Um, but doing all that and making sure I make the payments and everything so I don't get fucked during tax time will be a goal of mine for next year. Yeah. So I definitely want to expand this and make this into a larger thing for me. That as long as I continue to enjoy it, as long as the money is still good, as long as I'm still building my client base and everything like that. Like I'm generally don't see myself stopping anytime soon. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I don't want to sit here and be like, I'm going to be a cam girl till I retire. Like I don't fucking know what I'm going to do. I'll probably never get to retire. I'll probably die long before then. So I'm not too worried about it at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of my goal, as far as moving forward, is I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to get exposure. I want to collaborate with other artists. I want to just expand this whole thing into a little brand, yeah, that is generally my goal. Um, it has been a very interesting experience. Um, Not just with the money, not just with the mental stuff, not just with being seen as attractive for the first time in my life. Um, but like it just changed so much in my life, and it changed it so quickly that I'm still like digesting it. Um, and I'm not like acting like I was just like a huge breakout hit, but for me, like I could not, like I said, I could not believe how much attention I was getting and how many people found me attractive. Like I just never in my life would have thought that that many people wanted to see my body. And and it wasn't just the body stuff either. Like people really liked my personality. Like I've had lots of like heart to hearts where people would sit down and just talk about why my show works, what works about me, how I do this when other girls don't do this. And it's been very, very flattering. And it's good to know that the message I wanted to send out was received, that the way I wanted to present myself was really resonating with people. Like, this is generally my background for when I do shows. And, it's like the fucking walls are a weird color. Like, it's like olive green, and like the whole thing looks yellow. All the other performers have like lights and like little sets and all this stuff. And I've just got my fucking room and my fucking chihuahua back there and everything. And I've toyed with the idea of like doing more of a setup and everything. And I've had some people tell me like, do not change a thing. Like you are very like natural looking, like your environment is natural looking. Like this really really works for you. Not a lot of girls do this kind of stuff. Um, and so and there's a lot of dead space around me. Like I want to bring in the dead space a little bit. Um, but yeah, I think in a lot of ways, like I think they're right. And what part of what does work about my performance is just this. I tried to brand myself as the T girl next door sort of a thing. Like I try to have a very friendly, down to earth vibe with people and everything. And and people bring me like problems and like interests and things that are like I try to make my room like a kink sex safe space where people can talk about their interests, things they want to try, things they're nervous about, experiences they've had. And I just like to like I'm trained in philosophy, so I like to answer, or I like to ask good questions and bring out and make them grow through talking, basically. And so if somebody is expressed a little bit of interest in chastity, I'll kind of ask questions about like, well, what is it that appeals to you about it? Like, oh, okay, so it's this. Well, have you thought about this? Like, um, you know, here's a way you could present it to your spouse. Like, and by the end of some of those conversations, like people seem to generally like feel a lot better and everything, and like really discover more about themselves. And I mean, like and I talk about being trans. I talk about other, I get a lot of trans people coming through talking to me about like their own struggles and stuff. And I try to give advice when I can. I'm not gonna act like I'm some guru on transitioning. Obviously, I am very much not. But sometimes I get approached by people who are still in that early phase and they don't know what to do, and they don't know if they should go full time, and they just don't know. And so I try to, and they don't know, if they're married or something, they don't know how will their spouse will react. So I try to counsel them and listen to them and give them advice. And doing that, I've had people who were like, man, I came here to bust a nut, and I ended up getting some really, really good advice. And I was like, good, good. Like, I still want you to bust your nut, but yeah, I do want you to think a little bit too. And yeah, and go away from this. Um, maybe having learned a little bit more than you did before you came in. That is one of my goals as a cam girl, is to entertain with sex, but also to entertain your brain and like make you think about life and whatever. Like that's generally the vibe I have. Yeah, I was called the most wholesome little slut the other day, and I was like, that's perfect, because that's the exact vibe I've been going for. Is I want to be wholesome, friendly, funny, smart, and also kind of a slut. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy to do the most, is to like really like talk about something like really smart and like, or like really deep, and then just shift gears suddenly to being like, but then nobody will like hog tie me on the bed and face fuck me. So whatever, just, I think it's funny to shift gears like that into something very adult and well thought out and well articulated into something extremely dirty and slutty. To me, that shit is funny as fuck. And I think I can hit those notes pretty well. So I try to do that when I can because it's a funny contrast, and and I think it's one of the things that works about my show is working that stuff in. Um, what else? I guess I've pretty much hit on everything I wanted to talk about on what my performances are, what the goals are, what the history is, and what I feel like I'm there to achieve from it. Um, is yeah, and like of course the money's great and everything, but there's something very cathartic about having that intimate safe space to talk to people, and like I said, like I've talked about my issues, going through all that strife with my previous dom. Like I would talk about that too and just kind of like get advice and like be reminded that I do have people that I can like float this shit by. And like, of course, you got some in there who are like, hey, let me see your feet, baby. And I'm like, I'm busy right now. I'm talking. Like, you can see my feet later. Um, but yeah. So I think that's about all I wanted to talk about, though. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot. Um, I don't think so. I think this is about everything. So if I come up, like I said, I just wanted to record this to kind of give an overview of my camgirl persona and what it is to me and what I hope to do with it. Before I get into like interviewing other kinky trans people and everything. But again, like it's freeform show, like if I can think of another interesting topic that I want to bring up and discuss here on the show, I'll do it. Other than that, I'm going to start my search for people who'd be willing to come on and talk to me. I really haven't reached out to anybody yet. I just wanted to get a couple episodes out and let them like marinate a little bit and get a little attention on them before I started trying to bring in others. But I think that's all I've got. One thing, if you've got any questions about what I do as a cam girl, or if you like need advice on how to get your own self up off the ground, you can feel free to ask me in the comments, or my email is it's Linzy19official at protonmail.com. So I'm always open to receiving emails about that kind of stuff too. Or you can send me a direct message or come to one of my cam rooms and get to me. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. Having this dumb little podcast kind of do on the side is very good for me because it gets me out of that constant engagement with Linzy19 to where I can do something more level, more mature, arguably. And just a little less slutty for once, even, who thought that was possible? It is possible. And, and I like doing that shit. I like doing this. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Homegirl out.